Karen's world was a reflection of her own ego, a shimmering facade built upon the fragile foundation of her narcissism. In her opulent home, adorned with mirrors at every turn, she basked in the adoration of her own reflection. Each glance was an affirmation of her beauty, each pose a testament to her greatness. But behind the polished exterior lurked a darkness, a gnawing emptiness that no amount of flattery could fill. Her meals were extravagant affairs, lavish feasts fit for a queen. But beneath the surface of decadence lay a pattern of excess and indulgence that threatened to consume her. She feasted on rich foods and sugary delights, heedless of the toll they took on her body and mind. The warnings of doctors and the pleas of loved ones fell on deaf ears, drowned out by the incessant whispering of her own desires. Unbeknownst to Karen, her obsession had drawn the attention of a malevolent force. A demon, drawn to her vanity like a moth to a flame, slithered into her thoughts like a serpent. At first, its whispers were subtle, a faint echo in the recesses of her mind. But with each passing day, its influence grew, wrapping around her thoughts like ivy choking a tree. Seeds of doubt took root in Karen's mind, blossoming into thorns of cruelty and malice. The demon fed on her insecurities, amplifying her fears until they consumed her every waking moment. Slowly, insidiously, it twisted her thoughts until they were unrecognizable, warping her perception of reality until she saw only what the demon wanted her to see. As the darkness spread, Karen's once loving relationship began to wither and die. The demon reveled in the chaos it had sown, delighting in the pain it inflicted on those around her. Her true love, once her rock, became a mere shadow of his former self, worn down by the relentless storm of her toxicity. Despite his best efforts to weather the storm, he could no longer withstand the relentless assault on his heart and soul. And so, with a heavy heart, he walked away, leaving Karen alone in her misery. The echoes of his footsteps faded into the night, leaving behind a void that nothing could fill. And as Karen stood amidst the ruins of her once perfect world, the demon whispered in her ear, its voice dripping with honeyed venom. "You are alone," it hissed, "and it's all your fault." With her world crumbling around her, Karen grasped desperately for something, anything, to fill the gaping void within her soul. But no amount of material possessions or shallow flattery could mend the shattered pieces of her heart. And so, in her desperation, she turned to the only thing she knew could offer temporary solace, another's embrace. In the arms of another, Karen sought refuge from the storm raging inside her mind. But even as she clung to this fleeting happiness, she could feel the demon's grip tightening around her heart. It whispered sweet promises of validation, of fulfillment, but each whispered word was laced with poison, each caress a dagger aimed at her true love's heart. Her infidelity tore through her relationship like a hurricane, leaving devastation in its wake. The betrayal cut deep, leaving wounds that would never fully heal. Her true love, once her anchor in a sea of uncertainty, turned his back on her, his eyes filled with a pain that mirrored her own. And as he walked away, leaving her to face the consequences of her actions alone, Karen felt the weight of her choices crash down upon her like a tidal wave. The demon, emboldened by her fall from grace, whispered in her ear, its voice a siren's song luring her deeper into the abyss. "You are unworthy," it hissed, "and you always will be." In the depths of despair, where shadows danced ominously and hope seemed but a distant memory, the man found himself at a crossroads. His heart heavy with the weight of betrayal, his spirit battered by the storms of life, he turned to the one beacon of light that had never failed him, his faith. With trembling hands and a voice thick with emotion, he lifted his eyes to the heavens and called out to the Creator. His prayers, like whispers in the night, echoed through the vast expanse of the universe, seeking solace in the arms of divine mercy. And lo, God, in his infinite wisdom, heard the man's cries. From his throne on high, he looked down upon the earth with eyes filled with compassion, his heart aching for the suffering of his children below. He saw the love that still burned within the man's heart, fierce and unyielding despite the trials he had faced. He saw the flicker of hope that refused to be extinguished, the spark of faith that refused to be snuffed out. With a gesture of divine grace, God reached down and touched the man's soul, infusing him with the strength to resist the demon's temptations and the wisdom to see through Karen's lies. He wrapped him in a cloak of protection, shielding him from the darkness that threatened to consume him. And as the man felt the warmth of God's love wash over him, he knew that he was not alone. With newfound resolve burning in his heart, he set out to face the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that with the Creator by his side, he would emerge victorious. As Karen's descent into darkness accelerated, her desperation reached a fever pitch. No longer content with the shallow comforts of her former life, she turned to darker forces in a desperate bid for salvation. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with guilt, she delved into the forbidden arts of witchcraft, seeking power to mend the broken pieces of her shattered world. Under the watchful eye of the demon that had ensnared her, Karen wove spells of deceit and betrayal, each incantation a twisted thread in the tapestry of her undoing. But her actions did not go unnoticed, for the universe has a way of balancing the scales of justice. Sensing a threat to its hold over Karen, the demon moved swiftly to protect its prized possession. It whispered lies and half-truths into the ears of her friends and family, twisting their perceptions until they saw the man as the true enemy. Together, they formed a twisted cult, bound together by their shared devotion to darkness. But the man, fortified by his unwavering faith, stood firm against the onslaught. With the Creator by his side, he armed himself with the weapons of truth and righteousness, prepared to do battle against the forces of evil that threatened to consume him. With courage in his heart and fire in his soul, he confronted the cult head-on, exposing their lies and tearing down their walls of deception. With each revelation, the darkness that had once shrouded Karen's world began to recede, replaced by the brilliant light of truth. And as the man stood victorious, bathed in the glow of divine grace, he knew that the battle was far from over. But with the Creator as his guide, he faced the challenges that lay ahead with unwavering resolve, knowing that no darkness could withstand the power of love and light. As the dust settled on the battlefield of hearts and minds, the weight of truth bore down upon the once proud members of the twisted cult. Blinded by their own greed and malice, they had waged war against love and light, but in the end, justice prevailed. The cult members, their masks of deception torn asunder, stood before the courts of law, their crimes laid bare for all to see. Their voices trembled with fear as they faced the consequences of their actions, their once proud facade crumbling like a castle built on shifting sands. Karen, stripped of her illusions and laid bare before the eyes of the world, stood at the center of the storm. Her lies, like a house of cards, collapsed under the weight of truth, leaving her exposed and vulnerable. The demon that had once held her captive watched helplessly as its grip on her soul weakened, its power diminished by the light of justice. But even amidst the chaos and destruction, there was redemption. The man, once broken and alone, found solace in the love of the Creator and the support of those who believed in him. With their help, he began to heal, his wounds slowly but surely closing as he embraced the power of forgiveness and redemption. Together, they stood as beacons of hope in a world darkened by deceit and betrayal, their voices ringing out with the clarion call of truth. And as the shadows receded and the light of dawn broke through the darkness, they knew that their journey was far from over. For though Karen and the demon had been bound by the Creator, their power diminished and their influence extinguished, the battle for the soul of humanity raged on. But armed with love and light, they faced the challenges that lay ahead with unwavering resolve, knowing that no darkness could withstand the power of truth and righteousness. And so, with hearts full of hope and eyes turned toward the horizon, they set out to build a brighter tomorrow, one step at a time.
Thanks for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe for more quantum dimensional stories.